Hi everyone, Pastor Michael Linderman here, coming to you on Thursday, the 28th of October. And we are in our third video of 6, talking about this book, Freedom, Finding Peace in Anxious Times by Marjorie Thompson, based on the work of Henry Nouwen, the Roman Catholic priest and spiritual master who died in the 1990s, but was very prolific. And this chapter 2 of the booklet, session 2, it's called, From Resentment to Gratitude, is the topic here, and is a very important topic for us at Redeemer at this moment. This is the Thursday before the last Sunday in October. This is the last week of our stewardship campaign from which is titled Building a Culture of Gratitude. And so for us to be talking about chapter 2 of this booklet about moving from resentment to gratitude being the goal here, is very serendipitous because gratitude is the focus of our stewardship campaign, which ends this week. And also coming in November, of course, is Thanksgiving. And that holiday is fundamentally about gratitude. And so we've got a doubling up here of themes that we want to, and opportunities to talk about this theme that we want to take advantage of. The basis of this session 2 or chapter 2 of the booklet is Henry Nouwen's work, lifelong work really, on reflecting on the parable of the Prodigal Son, which is in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. And so if you want, before you read this chapter, or or while you're reading this chapter of the booklet, look up chapter 15, verses 11 through 32, and that's the story of the Prodigal Son. And as I said in my first video, one of Father Nouwen's most famous books is his reflection on this parable of Jesus. But the wonderful thing that Father Nouwen does for us is to pose the challenge of the emotion of resentment as the opposite of gratitude. So if we say to ourselves, well, I'd like to feel more grateful in life, or I'd like to feel more gratitude in my life, I'd like to be able to move into gratitude as a powerful emotion in my own life that I can come back to again and again, or that I can live off of more freely and more substantially in my life, then you have to take seriously what Father Nouwen is saying here, that resentment is its opposite. And the more resentment you have or harbor in your heart, the less room there is for gratitude in your heart. And so if we want to move toward lives that are full of gratitude, we have to look carefully and honestly at the feeling of resentment in our life. Read through the explanation that Marjorie Thompson gives of the quick overview of the parable on page 10 in the booklet, and then notice that how she explains that Father Nouwen himself identified very deeply with the oldest son in the story. That's the son who does harbor the resentment against his younger brother, who's the one in the story who had gone off and spent his share of the inheritance and then had the gall to come back and ask his father for forgiveness. And the father, of course, graciously forgives him, lavishly celebrates his son's return, and that's what makes the older son so resentful. And Father Nouwen describes his own struggle with that feeling of resentment with his own brother in relationship to their father in his own life. He says, when we consider what the elder son is going through, we see that what comes out of him and what he says erupts in the elder son and boils to the surface is resentment, envy, and bitter complaint. It is the resentment of the Pharisee in our own heart, the resentment of the just and righteous, those who work hard to be blameless. And so that feeling of our own sense of self-righteousness and our own umbrage or complaint and envy of those who we think are getting more than they deserve in comparison to us, who have been so good or been so righteous or been so consistent. And looking into ourselves, into our hearts, and looking for that those pools of resentment that are lying around is a great way to really delve into ourselves and explore how we might rid ourselves of this resentment in order to increase our spiritual maturity. Marjorie Thompson writes, "Resentment is a common and pervasive weed in the garden of our heart. Its root goes deep and can be hard to pull out because it tangles around so many other spots and roots. It is not just a weed, but a poisonous one, damaging our relationships and corroding our capacity to love." And that capacity to love is what we are trying to increase in our lives here. This is the reason why we're doing this exercise, why we're reading this book, and why in this challenging period in our lives and in the lives of those people around us and in our nation and the world, we are searching for this secret sauce at the heart of Christian spirituality that will allow us to become freer in our hearts and in our love and in our gratitude. Look at the prayer that Marjorie Thompson has written into the text here. It's called For Action. It's under that action item. It's always appearing in the middle of these chapters. And this is on page 12. In prayer, she says, "Let yourself be embraced by the compassion of God. Confess whatever you need to confess, knowing that you are already held in love. Absorb the gift deeply. Ask for grace to offer others similar compassion when they disappoint or wound you." These are exercises that this book offers in every chapter. So take that seriously, take a look at it, and practice it if you can. The other thing I want to mention is how we move from resentment to gratitude. When Father Nowen writes about his own struggles with resentment, he acknowledges the way it keeps him from feeling grateful. But if we can let go of comparison between ourselves and other people as the basis of our idea of love and being loved, and let go of all rivalry and competition and surrender to God's love, the Father's love in the parable, this requires a leap of faith, Henry Nowen writes, because we have such little experience of non-comparing love. And so he writes, Marjorie writes, "In letting go of comparisons and accepting our belovedness, we are able to choose gratitude instead of resentment. According to Henry, gratitude is the opposite of resentment." This is a quote from Henry Nowen. "Resentment and gratitude cannot coexist, since resentment blocks the perception and experience of life as a gift. My resentment tells me that I don't receive what I deserve. Gratitude, however, goes beyond mine and thine and claims the truth that all life is a pure gift." That's the freedom that the book in its title is hoping to push us toward, that freedom of the heart that is ever grateful and full of gratitude for all people around us, and that lets go of resentment, lets go of jealousy, lets go of envy, lets those emotions dissipate, and lets God's love fill our hearts with gratitude so that we might be grateful in all circumstances and in all situations, whether up or down, positive or bad, sad or happy, whatever the case may be. Finding gratitude in the midst of life's ups and downs is a real gift that the world needs right now, and that we are in a position to tap into because of our faith in Christ Jesus as God's love poured out for the world, that we get to share in, simply because we've taken on seriously the invitation in our baptisms that we are already children of God, blessed by God, and given God's love as a gift freely, with no hope of earning it and no testing or any kind of process that we might prove ourselves worthy of that love. No, it's a free gift. And if life is a gift, all life is a gift, then, and God's grace is at the heart of that gift, then we become free in our own hearts to live that gratitude outwardly toward other people. And what a gift to the world that would be. So until next time, please read through, meditate on the quotes, and pay attention to the action items in each chapter and the questions that are asked for reflection. And may this process and exercise bless you.